In the 1970s, a German band of robots named Kraftwerk would reinvent amazing ways to make music out of circuits, oscillators, electricity, red dress shirts, and slick black ties. The percussionist Wolfgang Flür. The percussionist Wolfgang wowed the world with an electronic set of drums, a collection of circles played with metal sticks that would trigger an external source to play when contact was made. This created the bridge between human emotive artistry and generative synthetic machine that we would still walk on to this day. The consumer music tech world would catch wind of this fire that was lit very soon after. Simmons would create whole electronic drum sets with this idea. Roger Linn would include trigger inputs for his wildly successful Linn-Drum LM2 sampling drum machine. Roland would go on to release the Octopad in 1985, creating a name for the sample pad akin to how a Band-Aid is a bandage, and how every video game system is a Nintendo according to parents across the nation. The pad sampler revolution that Roland arguably kicked off led to an explosion of samplers that you'd see on drum kits for years to come. The Roland SPD-30 and its three successors, the spd-s, the spd-sx, and the spd-sx Pro, have all become industry standard in this year of 2023. Several drum companies have tried to come up with alternatives, including Alesis with the StrikePad series, the D-Drum Neo, the Nord Drum 3, and countless no-name alternatives on Amazon that you've seen for very cheap. I would like to review a bunch of these someday, but I would need money to do so. With computation only getting cheaper and more powerful, there's no shortage of items to choose from when it comes to trying to find a sample pad for your needs. Unless you choose the Yamaha dtx-multi 12. It is garbage. It's a terrible device. I absolutely cannot stand this thing. And I will never get rid of it. And here's why. Before I dogpile on this trash pile, let's actually talk about what a good sample pad is and does, and what it should do and what it can do. First and foremost, a sample pad is a sampler. It's a basic computer that can take a sound file and play it back when asked to do so. You should be able to upload samples or even record straight onto the pad itself, and it doesn't hurt if the stock sounds are pretty good too. Playback should be done quickly with zero lag. You hit the sample pad, it plays the sound. Simple. Speaking of hit the pad, it's extremely important that a good sample pad can withstand a lot of abuse. It's a piece of percussion equipment, it's going to get hit with drumsticks. These are also mostly live tools, so they better survive the abuses of the road, and they better be built very sturdy with components that won't easily fail. The ability to expand the usage of the sample pad is also extremely important via triggers, external modules, MIDI functionality both incoming and outcoming, and so on and so forth. Modern drum samplers can and have replaced the central drum modules, or brains, of most electronic drum rigs. Just throw a bunch of triggers on or set up a bunch of E-pads, connect them to your sampler, and you've got a full-on electronic kit. We live in the future, and it's terrifying. To explore all these points, let's check out the Roland spd-sx. You'll see these occasionally in live drummers kits on stadium performances because they're reliable enough that any mega pop star touring drummer can just trust them for a year-long international tour. If you see one on a big stage, there's a very good chance that the entire band's backtrack catalog is actually being triggered by the drummer. The spd-sx has sample space for days. At CD quality of 44.1 kHz at 16-bit, which is the sampling industry standard, you have 25 hours of stereo audio. That's a lot. That's a whole set. That's several sets. So, all that in mind, let's talk about how Yamaha completely Internal storage space is 64 megabytes. Megabytes. 64 megabytes. That's it. That is 6 minutes and 2 seconds of audio at CD quality. 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Because you have 64 megabytes. You have 6 minutes and 2 seconds! You might be asking yourself, well, wait, hold on. How is this possible in 2023? Surely this device came out in the late 90s or the early 2000s or something. 2009. It came out in 2009. For reference, the iPhone at the time, the iPhone 3GS, had an 8, 16, and 32 gigabyte model. 64 megabytes.
6 minutes and 2 seconds!
Let's put it further into context with the Roland SPD-s. There's mine. The Roland SPD-s came with 128 megabytes of internal storage. It could hold 12 minutes of audio at the same sample rate. It came out in 2003, 6 years earlier. 128 megabytes, and it came out 4 years before the iPhone came out. 128 megabytes versus 64 megabytes, which is 6 minutes and 2 seconds! And let's address the elephant in the room. 128 megabytes still isn't that great, but Roland thought of this. On an external compact flash card, you could keep all your WAV files and then just load it into the RAM and have a bunch of stuff on your sample. You just plug the thing into the sample pad, and that's a real good time, and everybody loves it. Bam, bam, you're good to go, bro. You got a show. So of course, small internal storage is not an issue if you have an external slot that can do compact flash, if it can do an SD card, even like a USB thumb drive or something. There's no external memory on the Yamaha dtx-multi 12. When you load a sample, you load it straight into the internal memory, and you play it that way. There's no RAM. And you only get 6 minutes and 2 seconds because the thing has 64 megabytes of internal memory. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. We can make this work. We have 6 minutes of audio. We can do maybe like 2 or 3 songs of a backtrack. I mean, it's better than nothing. Maybe we can do like a bunch of like 45-second long loops for our songs or something like that, you know. Just a couple of really big files, right? Maximum size that you can play back in a sample is 2 megabytes. That's 11 seconds. The manual says you can get 4 megabytes for a stereo audio file. I've never gotten that to work. Anything bigger than 2 megabytes just gives you an error. Just gives you a file too big error. I paid full price for this thing brand new. So that right there is enough of a deal breaker that I would say the sample pad's not even worth buying. That right there is enough.
But I'm not done yet!
It is called the dtx-multi 12 because unlike most sample pads that have 8 or 9, this has 12 pads on it. But the bottom 3 pads are so at this weird angle here, and you have to like either hit at a bizarre angle to get to these if it's level like this, or if you're like this, you can't even hit them. At worst, they're just obnoxiously in the way, and at best, you can't even touch them, you just ignore them, so who cares? Uploading a sample takes an uncomfortably long time. Watch. Every single time I'm worried. I go out of my way to not have to upload samples on this thing if I can help it. Recording onto the device itself is such a tedious and difficult process, I haven't even tried it since I bought the thing. It's just not worth doing. Congrats, you just uploaded a sample to it. Do you want to assign it to a pad? Cool, first you have to dig through every single factory sound that comes with the thing. Listen, Yamaha, I don't want to use a Quika sound. I want to use the air horn sound that I uploaded because I think it's funny to do this. On top of everything else, you have to use the internal MIDI system, and you have to use channel 10 to assign a MIDI note to your sample, and then program the thing so that you hit the thing, and then it's channel 10 of that MIDI note, which means you have at max 128 samples. And that is something to keep track of, but only if you could fill 128 samples with 64 megabytes of audio, which is only 6 minutes. And you know what, while we're at it, let's talk about the MIDI on this thing. Let's talk about the MIDI on this thing. The MIDI functionality of the Yamaha dtx-multi 12 is unparalleled in 2023. I'm not joking. This is not a joke. This is one of the best MIDI controllers on the market. Like, this isn't a meme, this isn't a bit. This is why I'm never getting rid of it. It is the best MIDI controller that exists right now. Let's talk about the MIDI functionality of the pads themselves. For comparison, we'll talk about the Roland spd-s and the SX. When it comes to the Roland sample pad, you can assign a single MIDI note to each pad. And then there's a global channel for all of the pads across all of the presets. That's the only MIDI channel that you can use unless you go deep into the options and fix it. And that's it. That's what you have. By comparison, the Yamaha dtx-multi 12 can send out 4 notes at the same time. 4. You can hit a pad and have them all send out at the same time. You can cycle between the 4 notes, and you can have the notes be held down until the pad is hit again. Each note can be its own length too. Here's the crazy part, each note can be its own MIDI channel. That juicy funk was only possible because of the Yamaha dtx-multi 12. That's nuts. That's crazy. That's a good time. The closest feature on the market right now is the recently introduced Roland spd-sx Pro, which came out earlier this year. and you can still only send out one note at a time, even if each pad can be on its own MIDI channel. For reference, that came out in 2023. May I remind you, the Yamaha dtx-multi 12 came out in 2009. That's the difference. The pads don't have to be MIDI notes. You can assign them to be PC values, program change values. That way you can hit the pad and then it loads up on, say, another piece of gear or something else, pulls up a different program. You can actually do this so that when you select a new kit or a new preset, just like that, that will automatically load up everything you need to do. My band Factual Brains, we used to tour with a Nakai MPC 1000. We had a Dave Smith Instruments Tetra. We had a Korg Chaos pad. We had one of these. Just hitting the next button, PC would just load up everything we needed for the next song, just instantly. Didn't have to touch anything else. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, and it was so easy to do. You can even assign the pad to be a CC value, a control change value, and that way when you hit it, it sends out a signal between 0 and 127. Or you can send out a variable signal and have it respond to the velocity that you have. Bonkers. Nothing else does this on the market right now. Nothing else does this. And that's just the pads. If you hook up something like a Yamaha FC7, this little expression paddle thingy, you can assign this to be a CC value, and you can just control stuff with your feet. Roland didn't implement this until the spd-sx Pro. They acted like they were the first ones to do it. They didn't. 2009. 2009 you could do this. The MIDI brain on this beast it's insane, but don't get it wrong, like, it's still a beast. I've had this thing for 8 years now. I've taken it on countless tours, hundreds of shows, tens of thousand miles traveled on the road. I've had so much abuse from people knocking into it, moshing, and I've hit this thing probably a million times. I've struck it over and over with drumsticks. I've never had a single issue. I've never had loading issues. I've never had cross-chalk hitting like one of the pads and then like another one triggers. I've never had any like wobbly inputs or outputs. The power supply's held up totally completely fine. I have a backup. I've never had to use it. This thing has been knocked off stands and it has hit every single surface on anything you can imagine, and you can hear that rattle. Totally fine. Works completely fine. This thing's a beast. I love it so much. By comparison, the backdrop you see behind me, all these instruments don't work anymore. You might notice something. I used that Roland spd-s for about 3 years. I bought it secondhand. I will be the first to admit a lot of issues could happen from misuse from somebody before me. Every 3 months, you had to open it up and actually sweep out all the sawdust from chopped up drumsticks. I didn't play it that hard. This led to so many crosstalk issues. You'll notice there's like a little pink thing on it. The crosstalk got so bad that every single pad that I hit would also trigger pad number 6. I had to go through every single patch that I made and just take that pad out. It died on me. I actually had one of the 9 pads die on me. I had it corrupt on me twice, and I had to completely factory reset it until it just wouldn't even turn on anymore. It only survived 1 tour. Again, I bought it used. These things are legendary for a reason, but it was only 10 years old when it died, I'm just saying. The Yamaha dtx-multi 12, I have legitimately I've played so many shows with this thing. This thing has been the motor controlling so many bands. It's controlled computers, it's controlled projections, it has controlled light shows, it has controlled so much for me, and I've never once worried about it on stage. It is such a beast, it's such a powerhouse, and it just works. When it works beautifully. It's an amazing machine. When you want it to do what it will do on its terms, it's incredible. It's like, just more people should know about this thing. It's great. Also, I'm just gonna say it. The internal sounds are pretty fun. Yo. The expression pedal thing alone, combined with that and the way that it just flows with all of my MIDI stuff, this might be a little dramatic, but it's changed the way that I think about how to play drums. I'm not being dramatic here. I'm serious. I think in terms of how to control my synths while I'm drumming. They've become the same thing for me, and that is because of the Yamaha. That is because of the dtx-multi 12. So obviously I love this thing, right? There's like no flaws with the MIDI, like clearly. For all the amazing things that it does, there's like so many monkey's paw catches that are just irritating enough that like you want to scrap it and get something else, but they're not deal breakers just yet. I keep talking about this, the FC7. Notice how I didn't say just any expression pedal will work, because they don't. This is the only thing that seems to work with the CC value control thing. I've tried a lot of pedals and nothing seems to hook up to it. That's okay, at least it works totally fine, right? The values are inverted. This reads as 127. This reads as 0. Why? I'm a Yamaha product, so you be prepared to have a headache, I swear to God! That's probably getting good. So yeah, that's obviously a huge headache. On a computer, it's no big deal. You literally just go, you take your values and you invert them. It's super easy. But when you're dealing with hardware, you can't just do that half the time. I've had to program out synth patches backwards or like inverted, which sometimes is just like, oh, literally take a value and make it negative. Oh, but sometimes it's one of the biggest headaches in the world. And if you're hooking it up to, say, a big piece of analog, knobby, synthy stuff that just like all you're controlling is the mod wheel, you have to think backwards. It's such a weird, wild oversight. And I've tried so many things to figure out a way to do it internally to flip it, externally to flip it. I've tried weird hardware hacks and nothing works. It's such a weird oversight, and I don't know why Yamaha didn't fix that. I mentioned before too the issue with the channel 10 stuff. Samplers like to default to channel 10 because you're probably not using 9 other synthesizer voices. You might be, I don't know, I'm not a cop, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But the problem is a lot of old school samplers default to channel 10 and cannot be changed. And for Yamaha to not let you do that means that if you have one of these and you have like a sampler that refuses to go off channel 10, you're going to have issues if you use the internal sampler of the Yamaha with your actual sampler hardware. That's another weird oversight. Again, it's not a deal breaker, it's extremely annoying. But the problem is too, is that channel 10 is really buggy. If you do an internal function known as copy pad, where you actually take the values from one pad and send it to another one, so if you're like programming a big chord, for example, that's extremely handy. If everything is channel 10, when it copies its values over, they're completely wrong for some reason. It's a weird oversight, and it's not that big of a deal, but if you're writing, it can be really annoying to like take this shortcut that you were given, and now not only do you have to do the work that you were gonna use the shortcut to subvert, you have to do more work because you used a bad shortcut. You know, again, it's not a deal breaker, it's just extremely annoying. Have you noticed a pattern here? So you might be asking yourself at this point, do I even like the sample pad? The answer is no. I love it. And I hate it. I feel so passionately, like I've been wanting to like make a video about this forever because I don't think enough people talk about the sample pad. It's really weird, it's really bad, but it's really good. When I first got it, I tried to sell it for half of what it paid. I couldn't find a buyer. Nobody wanted this thing. At the same time, I've seen it on sale, and I've nearly picked up another just to have as a backup when they stop making this. It's a phenomenally cursed piece of hardware. It's beautiful. It has changed me as a musician in so many ways, and I cannot stand it. Let me just break down my thoughts in a few last sentences. Let's just simplify everything real quick. Do you want a sampler? Avoid this. Do you want an amazing MIDI controller? Buy this. So at the end of the day, do I even like recommend this pad? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. It really tremendously helps. Like it and share it with your friends and all those other things that YouTubers tell people to do. I want to give a special shout out to the people on my Patreon. They've been making videos like this possible, and it like is extremely beautiful that people believe in me and do this. It's very cool. I will be back to doing covers soon enough. I'm waiting for a hand injury to heal up. But until then, thank you so much. And I haven't thought of a way to end this video yet, so